So welcome to this week's 30-minute coaching session with a coach. So today I'm going to talk through and share with you the recipe for success. So as we know, the world has changed and it's changing faster every single day. Today is the slowest day of change for the rest of your life. And no one said it better than Darwin, that it's not the most intelligent or the strongest that survive, it's those most adaptable to change. And also, as what Marshall Goldsmith said, what got you here won't get you there. So in order to keep up with the world around us and the changing environment, we need to constantly evolve to keep up. And how do we do that? Well, let's break the challenge down into individual ingredients to see what's necessary to create lasting change. So there are 5 key elements to creating change. Having a clear vision, a vision of what it is that you want to get to, what you're looking to achieve, having the skills and ability to be able to implement that change, having an incentive, some form of reward or some reason to do it, having the resources available to be able to act the change, and then also an action plan, a structure to it, and an ability to follow some steps to get there. So that's the recipe for success. Having each of those elements in place will help to deliver change that's necessary. Now, of course, with any recipe, like baking a cake, you can get a result without one of the ingredients, with one of the ingredients missing, but it's not necessarily going to have the same effect. So if we took out the vision, let's look at the recipe for success without vision. So we've got the skills, we know how to do what we need to do. We've got the incentive, so we really want to do it, and we're driven to go and affect the change. And we've got the resources and the plan to be able to do it. But without the vision, there's an element of confusion. We may not be heading in the direction that we think we want to get to, because we're not really clear on where it is we want to go. So there's some confusion around what's actually happening. So we might have to go a few missed tangents down the wrong road occasionally, have to readapt. What happens if we take out the skills? So we've got the vision, we know where we want to go, we've got the incentive, the resource, and the action plan, but we don't have the skills to get there. Then that creates a level of anxiety. And anxiety causes paralysis. So quite often we don't take action when we have a lack of skills. So we don't get the change that we want. We don't get the results that we want. What about if we remove the incentive? So we've got the vision, the skills, the resource, and the action plan, but we don't have the incentive to make change. What we end up with potentially is gradual change, because the incentive gives us the motivation to take action and implement change as quick as possible. So without that element, we can change, but it takes a bit longer. We take the resources out, so we've got all of the other elements, but we don't have the resources around us to be able to carry out that change, then we get frustrated. There's frustrations because we can see where we want to go, we've got the skills and the ability to do it, but we don't have the resources around us to actually get to where we want to get to. And then, of course, the last one, if we take out the action plan. So we've got everything else in place, but we don't have a plan. We very often then will have false starts because we don't know what the steps are to start with to take us to where we need to get to. So think about the action plan and the destination of having like a sat-nav system. So the sat-nav system, you put in your postcode, which is the vision where you want to get to, but the sat-nav system then tells you where to turn at the end of the road, whether it's left, whether it's right. So that action plan is breaking down that bigger objective into the steps that you need to take every single day to get to where you need to get to. And without it, we can have false starts. So for things to change, first, we must change. If we want to get to somewhere that we haven't got to before, then we have to look at what we're doing to actually see what needs changing. So take a moment just to look through those different elements and just think to yourselves, which bit is missing? Because you might have 4 of them in place and you may be just missing one of them. So identifying which one's missing will help you to put that in place and help you to change what you're currently doing to be able to get the results that you want. Then, of course, we need to take action. So taking action is you spending your time in the right areas. So it's not about doing the things that you don't know how to do. This is very often about actually spending the time to do the stuff that you need to, that you know you need to do. So where are you spending your time during the working day? Where are you spending your time during the working week? 20% is to go and find out what you need. What knowledge do you need? Focusing on the specific tasks and actions that you need to work on to be able to get to where you want to get to. The rest of it is removing all of the interference, all of the stuff that goes on around us that basically stops us from doing that 20% that we need to do. And the biggest barrier to success is not knowing what to do, it's actually doing what you already know. So if we go back to the recipe for success, you'll already have the answers to pretty much all of those ingredients. But it's taking the time to sit down and think, right, where is it I want to go? What's my vision? Specifically with dates. Let's put some time frames in it. So the subconscious brain then actually starts to work towards those dates. Because if we say to ourselves, oh, by next year, I want to be doing X, the subconscious brain is thinking by next year. So it's always got time. Put a specific date on it. What skills do you need to learn to create that change, to get to where you want to get to? Is the incentive high enough? Have we got enough dissatisfaction with our current performance or current results? Have we got enough vision for actually what we want to achieve? What's the incentive to take action? What's the motivation? Creating that purpose, that sense of urgency. And do we have the resources, either in time, people, money, things like that? And then, of course, take the time to plan. So it's not the plan in itself can be something that changes. It doesn't have to be written in stone. So very often plans don't go according to plan, but the act of planning is invaluable. So putting those elements together, putting in a structure, and then going out and taking action is critical. So that's pretty much the scene for the recipe for success. So taking some time to actually think through those different strategies to put a plan in place will help you to get to where you need to get to. Then we need to become the person that's going to deliver that plan. So how do we get super organized? How do we create those organization skills? How do we get super focused? And how do we get super disciplined into taking action on a daily basis? What creates that change and that impetus to make a difference? There's a neat little formula which we use in Action Coach, which helps to break this down. So once we know what we want to have, whether that's a financial result, whether it's a time result or a sales result, whatever it is, once we know what we want to have, we can then list out all of the things we need to do. And that's absolutely great. But if we don't become the person that delivers those actions, then we're only missing half the equation. So who do we need to become to be that person that delivers those actions on a daily basis, who's disciplined, who's super focused, and has the ability to get there? So that's a bit of a structure, bit of a framework. So make a note of those 5 elements of the recipe for success and use them as a reference point. And then also make a note of this formula to think about the things that need to be in place to get the results that you're looking for. So I'll open up for any questions. So if I just stop sharing and just pause the recording, and we'll open up for some questions.